So the enemy surrounded the Israelites, and God told them, he said, the battle is not yours, the battle is mine. So here's what they did next. 2 Chronicles chapter 20, verse 18. Jehoshaphat, who was the king, bowed down with his face to the ground, and all the people of Judah and Jerusalem fell down in worship before the Lord. I want you to picture everybody in their own home, in their own house, bowing down, worshiping God all by themselves. Somebody say all by yourself. Because you can worship all by yourself. Amen. How many of you worship all by yourself? But then they said, I think we need more. God said that we must find our positions. And I think we need more than just individually at home worshiping. So here's what they did. I'm jumping down to verse 21. After consulting the people, Jehoshaphat appointed men to sing to the Lord and to praise him for the splendor of his holiness, as they went out at the head of the army, saying, give thanks to the Lord, for his love endures forever. The king, how many of you know, when a king consults, he's not really asking for anything, right? He's giving them instructions, and he's saying, everybody, find your positions. I need worshipers to step forward. We need to get together. Because it's one thing to worship separately in your home, but it's a more powerful and significant thing for you to get together and to worship together. Somebody say, we are the choir. So they got together, and here is what God did. Verse 22. As the choir, as the whole of them that came together began to sing and praise, the Lord set ambushes against their enemies, the men of Ammon and Moab and Mount Seir, who were invading Judah. And they were defeated. Their enemies were defeated while they were, or when they started to sing and give praise. Verse 23, the Ammonites and the Moabites rose up against the men of Mount Seir to destroy and annihilate them. After they finished slaughtering the men from Seir, they helped to destroy them one another. How many of you understand what is happening here? Not only was God fighting for them, but the enemy began to fight them one another. The enemy began to fight each other. How many of you would love it just to sit back and watch your enemies fight each other? To watch your competitors just fighting each other and killing each other? Who am I talking to this morning? How many of you would like to sit back and watch your enemies destroy each other? I know I want to watch them. I'm going to sit down and watch them. Ladies and gentlemen, last week we had a wonderful and powerful time of worship, and we spoke about the fact that worship is warfare. Somebody say worship is warfare. And we spoke about the fact that worship is actually the sound of a war cry. And when you worship, you're making a war cry, and all of heaven responds and is beckoned to that war cry. Somebody say worship is a war cry. We also have to understand, though, that simultaneously, while you are making the sound of a war cry, worship is also the sound of winning. Please say with me, worship is the sound of winning. Worship is winning. Worship is the sound of triumph. Worship is the sound of victory. Worship is the sound of the victory that is in heaven being declared right down here on earth. Worship is winning. How many of you know what winning sounds like? You need to understand that winning has a sound. And have you ever heard the sound of winning before? The sound of victory. The sound of triumph. Worship is the sound of winning. If you've never heard that sound before, if you don't know what I'm talking about, today you're going to hear it. Today you will hear the sound of winning. Today you will make the sound that winners make. How many of you are excited about that? How many of you are ready to make the sound of winning? Today the band is going to make the sound of winning, not true? The band is going to make the sound that only winners can make. I hope that you're ready for it. Today you're going to feel the sound of winning. For some of you, maybe the first time that you're understanding what it is. Today, you will hear and feel what it is to experience the sound of winning right here at Go for God Family Church. Somebody say the sound of winning. Let me read a scripture for you. 2 Kings verse 7, chapter 7 verse 5. It says, at dusk they got up and they went to the camp of the Arameans. When they reached to the edge of the camp, nobody was there. The Arameans were the enemies of Israel. Some spies went out, some guys went out. When they got there, nobody was there. Where's the enemy? They ran off. For the Lord had caused the Arameans to hear the sound. Somebody say the sound. To hear the sound of chariots and horses and a great army. So that they said to one another, look, the king of Israel has hired the Hittite and Egyptian kings to attack us. So they got up and fled in the dusk and abandoned their tents and their horses and them donkeys too. They left everything. They left the camp as it was. And they ran for their lives. Somebody say the sound. The sound of victory will cause them to run off and to hide. The sound of victory, the sound of winning that you are about to make is going to cause your haters to run for their lives. Your competitors to run for their lives. For bad mind to run for its life. Your enemies are about to run when they hear the sound of heaven, the sound of winning. I don't know if you know this, but there's a phenomenon called home field advantage. How many of you have been to a sporting event? You played sports, been to one of them big stadiums, right? And these professional teams, what they will do is they will pray, they will fight, and they will pay a lot of money to get home field advantage. That is, they will do whatever they can to ensure that the game is played, that the fight takes place in their home, in their stadium, right? And they will fight for home field advantage because they are fighting for the sound of winning. Somebody said the sound of winning. They will pay big, big money, do whatever they can do to ensure that the battle takes place in their stadium. They do whatever they can. There are a lot of theories, and there are lots of reasons why people want home field advantage. For instance, they want to play somewhere familiar, right? Let's play on from. We know this grass, we know this court, we understand it, right? We play here every day. This is where we practice, right? They want to play on their own field, and also they'll find themselves wanting to play there because everything is familiar. They know what is going on. They know how it smells. They know the intricacies of it, and they want to play there. Also, they don't have to travel. And some in professional sports, the ones that travel and then have to come out and then they have jet lag or they have car lag. You can have car lag, right? Traveling, you travel and then you come and you're tired. And the home team, they just have to show up because they're already home. They have all those reasons, but the main reason why people fight for home field advantage is so that they can have and experience what? The sound of victory. And what they'll do is they will make sure that they have cheerleaders there, right? And the cheerleaders will come out and they will fight to amplify the sound. And the cheerleaders will come up and they'll say, give me a W, give me an I, give me an N, right? And they say, what does that spell? Win, all right? And they say, win. You got your win, you got your win. Give me a, you got your, right? And they will put up on the jumbotrons and they'll have screens all over the place. So you thought that they had screens there to entertain people. But the screens are there to draw crowd. It's kind of like church. These screens aren't here to entertain anybody. They're here to draw you in, and the screens say, make some noise. And it would flash and it would say louder. Some of you only watch sports on TV, so you don't know what the screens at the stadiums are saying, but they're saying louder. Make some noise, especially at an opportune time when it can mess with the enemies. Right? There are three main reasons why home field advantage is achieved. Okay? Number one, because of the sound. Number one is that there is power in the feeling of support from the cheers that trigger the adrenaline of those that are playing. The power of support. There is the power of support in that sound that triggers the adrenaline in the players. So if you are playing an away game, if you're coming in, you have to depend on something on the inside to do your best. But when you are home, you not only do you try to tap into something on the inside, but you have hundreds of people making noise, pushing you to tap into that thing that is inside of you. So all of a sudden there is this force from the outside trying to tap into you. So it's not only you tapping into you. If you are playing and you hear the sound of victory and winning all around you, you will tap into everything that is the best that is inside of you. Somebody say trigger. Another reason is they will make a lot of noise and they will get the decibels as high as possible to confuse, right, and to demoralize the enemy. The sound of winning demoralizes the enemy. They hear the sound. First of all, they can't think properly because it's so loud. They can't communicate because it's so loud. And if you hear cheers and cheers and cheers for your competitor, after a while it kind of messes with you. Right? If you hear them screaming that they're winners, after a while you start to doubt yourself. So the sound of winning goes out so that it can mess with the enemy and confuse the enemy and demoralize the enemy. Lastly, the sound of winning is sent out so that the cheers or the boos will influence the referees or the officiators. They will cheer loud, they will boo, they will make noise so that they can get into the head of the referee and the officiators. The cheering is happening, whether it is that they're praising or cursing the referees, it affects them. Referee does something bad and they boo. Referee does something right and they cheer. And they're cheering so that the referee will kind of lean to their side, so that the officiators will lean to the home team. Somebody say home field advantage. And they pay a lot of money to get the games played on their turf, ladies and gentlemen, because of the sound. Because of how the sound affects the players, because of how the sound affects the enemy, and because of how the sound affects the person in charge. The power of home field advantage is in the sound. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you today that worship gives you home field advantage. Corporate worship puts you in a position where you have the advantage over your enemies. Here's what they would do in the Bible. In Bible times, here's what they would do. They would say, guys, I did some worship all by myself, but let's get everybody together. Right? Psalm 34, they'll say, magnify the Lord with me. Let us exalt his name, what? Together. Let's all do it together, because I've done it myself. Psalm 91, it says, come, let us praise the Lord. Let us sing for joy to God who protects us. Let us come before him with thanksgiving and sing joyful songs and praise. Let all of us get together and do this. Let's magnify the sound. Let us tap in to the sound of victory together. But then they will also take it up a notch, and because they had the understanding that when they got together, they were also joining with heaven. When we worship here, we tap in to the angels that are already lined off in heaven, surrounding the throne of God, worshiping God. In Revelation chapter 5, verse 12, it gives us this picture. John gives us this picture of the angels surrounding God, right? Surrounding the King of Kings, and they are there and they're lifting him up. And they're saying, worthy, worthy, worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive power and wealth and wisdom and strength and honor and glory and all of our praise. All of the angels in heaven are already worshiping. So when you worship, your home field advantage is exaggerated because you are tapping in to the worship that is in heaven. How many of you are ready to tap in to the sound of heaven? And in the Bible, you know, they would have a thing where they say, we are going to get together and we're going to worship, because we know that when we worship, God comes down here to us. Psalm 22 verse 3 says, you are holy, O God, O you are enthroned upon the praise of Israel. Other versions say, you inhabit the praises of your people. God, when he hears the winning sound, the sound of praise and the sound of worship, he himself comes down and he makes his dwelling where the praise is. So they would get together to join in with heaven and summon God down here. The sound of winning is getting together. It is joining in with heaven. And how many of you know that anywhere God is, He must win? So they tap in to that sound. So what they do and what God is calling you to do today is to get yourself right, put yourself in position and say, I am going to fight to get the winning sound. I'm going to trigger everything that is inside of me. I am going to tap into all of what is inside of me. I am going to worship until I know that my enemies have been confused and demoralized. I'm going to worship until I can feel the presence of God in this place. I want the home field advantage. Ladies and gentlemen, home field advantage is all about the sound of heaven. And I want to encourage you guys today. Some of you would rather stay at home. Some of you stay at home and watch the events taking place on your television or on YouTube. No, there's nothing wrong with catching up. You missed a sermon on Sunday, right? But anybody that was here last week Sunday will tell somebody that wasn't there, you should have been here last week Sunday. You should have been at Go for God last week Sunday. Yeah, you can watch it on YouTube, but it's nothing quite like being there. There's nothing quite like being there. You can hear the sound through the internet and through the TV. But there's nothing quite like what? There's nothing quite like the sound when you are there. All you do is get it second hand. All you're doing is getting the what left. You understand? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that you need to make a decision that you're going to find yourself in church where you can have the home field advantage over your enemies. Some of you have been losing your battles because you're not fighting for home field advantage. You're not paying the price. What is the price that you're willing to pay to get yourself triggered and to tap in? What is the price you are willing to pay to see your enemies under your foot? What is the price that you're willing to pay to be in the presence of God? I don't think there's any price high enough. God is saying you need to fight for home field advantage where there is the sound of winning and you are live in that place and you join in with that sound. How many of you are ready to hear the sound of winning today? Some of you need to change the sound in your life. Some of you are listening to all kinds of stuff. I was at the stadium. I was there live. And what I saw, you could only experience if it was live, if you were there live, because it wasn't one of the things that they show on TV. It was the long jump. And you don't really see all the intricacies of the long jump, and I got to see it. Because in Jamaica, when you're at the stadium, the long jump is right in front of you if you're in the grandstand, right? And I was in the grandstand, and this gentleman was there, and he was doing his long jump, and we had heard a lot about him. Everybody was talking about this guy. He's the best Jamaica has, and Jamaica's best long jumper, and everybody's, and during the races, the long jumpers were jumping, and it was this guy's turn to do his long jump, and like most of the long jumpers do when they're, competing professionally, because this was a real deal, they get the crowd involved. They do whatever they can to get home field advantage, right? They say, you know what, I'm going to get the crowd involved because I don't want to, because I know that it's not just about my jump, but I need the winning sound. How many of you ever watched long jump? So here's what he did. So he did something like this. Right? And he was, come clap. Clap, clap, clap. And him. Right, I can't really do it. I look like I do. Right, and him. Faster, clap, clap. And him run at him. And he got up and he was sad. He hit about 19 feet. And he was sad and he walked back. No clapping, no applause. And he said, I have to do better than that, I have to do better than that. So he said, all right, because I need to get the sound. And can the crowd help me get the sound? Let's come again. Too fast. You start off too fast. Clap. And him jump, and him land, and him say, did about 20, and said, that's not good enough. And everybody's looking, and we're like, I was there sitting, I was like, that's phenomenal what he did. I can't do that. Everybody's like, wow, that's good. He said, no, but you have to be down, you have to understand. And he did something that changed my life forever. Right? Because at that point, I didn't understand how sound affects performance. How sound affects the outcome. How sound can either cause you to lose or to win. Him do a thing like this and him go so. Check. And him change the sound. That's not what his brother do. And it was like slow motion, ladies and gentlemen. And he had a smile on his face. And he came down. And he got up and he was smiling. And then everybody just started to clap, clap. Now just do me a favor. Give me the sound of winning one more time. Give me the tap. No, not that one. His sound. What this guy did was he had a sound first. You understand? He had a sound. It was the sound everybody else was using. Just the clap, 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 clap. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? But then he said, something is off. Right? I'm going to tap in to the crowd. I'm going to tap into the sound. I need to change the sound because that sound that I've been listening to and jumping to was not the sound of victory. He said, change the sound. I'm going to change the sound. And he deliberately did tap, clap, tap, clap, tap, clap, tap, clap, tap, clap. And he jumped and he did like 22 feet. And then the crowd was going crazy and he stood up and he got the gold medal. He tapped into the sound of victory. He changed the sound. I believe that some of you need to make a decision today, and that is that you are going to change the sound that you are living to. That you're even going to change the genre that you're listening to. Right? I mean, because some of you, all of my life, growing up as a Jamaican, I would live to the sound of reggae. Right? Not true. We live to the sound of reggae. Right? Some of you live to the sound of calypso. I don't know what's wrong with you, but, right? More and more Jamaicans are living to the sound of calypso nowadays. And soca, right? And so, I remember I also lived to the sound of disco and hip-hop. And I lived to a lot of different sounds. What sound are you living to? God is saying that it's time for you to tap into a whole other sound. Do you know that with all of the reggae that's inside of me and all of the disco inside of me, right? And all of the soca, my mother is Trinidadian, so it's in me somewhere. With all of the sounds that are inside of me, I found a sound. I found a sound that is truly the sound of winning. And I know that because when I hear it and when I sing it and when I get involved, it's like I can feel that it is spirit and it is truth. I mean, the sound is true and the words are truth. And they are eternal. They're not true sometimes and, not true the next time. And the words aren't based on how I feel now and the next day I feel, and it changes. But the words and the sound of worship is eternal. I'm here to tell you that the sound of worship is the sound of victory and triumph and winning. Let me make you hear the sound of winning. This is the sound of winning. That sound like winning? Woo! No, that sound like winning. To do it one more time, because I don't know if them feel it. One, hey. Close your eyes, okay? If you close your eyes, you might feel it better. Oh. All right, pull up. That is the sound of winning, ladies and gentlemen. Some of you need to change. You need to change what you're living to. You need to get into the worship, because worship is the sound of winning. There's a gentleman, he went on a business trip and he went to San Juan, right? San Juan, right? He went there on a business trip. And, you know, he made it through. He don't speak Spanish, of course, and that's over in San Juan, they speak Spanish, right? So he got himself into a taxi. He sat down in the taxi, and the taxi driver looked around at him and said, "Donde vas?" Who knows Spanish? What I mean? "Donde vas?" That means, and he took his dictionary out, his Spanish dictionary, and said, "Where are you going?" He said, "Hilton Hotel." All right, put back up his book. And he's driving, and you know he's watching stuff, and he just said, "So, he said to the driver, how has the weather been? You know, is it like this all the time? It's really beautiful. How have things been going here in San Juan?" And he's having a conversation, and the driver turns around and says, "Not speaking English." He said, "Okay." He doesn't start talking to himself. A few moments later, the driver says to him, "¿Dónde eres?" Took out his dictionary. And he read it, and it said, "Where are you from?" Right? And he said, "Oh, I'm from America. I'm from the USA." And the driver said, "Oh, USA, I like USA. I like USA very much. I like USA. Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson." Right? He said, "I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. No man can." If you want to make the world a better place, just and make that change. And the passenger, he's just blown away. He's like, "Wow, that's amazing." He said, "Let's sing it again." And they said, "I'm talking to the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to." No message could have been, and both of them are like, "You want to make the world a better place? Look at yourself and make that change." And they just had this bonding moment, and the passenger, and at least stay on key. I mean, if you're going to keep singing. God has that change key. No. All right. So he reached over to the driver, and he's shaking him, and that's amazing. And you know, "I thought you said not speaking English." And the driver turned on and said, Not speaking English, only sing." The moral of that story is that you don't have to understand all the words to feel what the song is saying. Right? You don't have to know everything. You don't have to understand everything to get involved in a song and to catch a song. All right? I mean, I'm just telling you, the way that God has set this thing up, he set it up so that at a young age and as a baby, right, you can absorb songs. You ever hear a little child sing a song from start to end and they don't even know what they're singing about? That used to be us. But I'm telling you, God set this thing up so that you can absorb a song, so that you can feel a song, so you can internalize a song when you don't even really know what they're talking about. You don't understand everything, but you will feel it, right? God has set this thing up so that you can absorb, so that you can understand, so that you can tap into the victory, tap into the sound of the victory, even if you don't understand how it's going to be won and how the fight is going to be won. I'm talking to those of you today that don't understand what Pastor Chris is talking about. That don't understand how come you could be in here and be worshiping and God be shifting things and causing your enemies to fight against them one another. I'm talking to those of you that just don't understand really how you could be worshiping in one place and God be warring in another place. How you could be worshiping here and you are winning out there. I'm just telling you, you don't have to understand everything. You just have to tap in to the song. I know some people who are biblically illiterate but worship fluent. Somebody say, "I'm worship fluent." I don't understand everything in the word, but I am a worship. I know the songs though. Some of you don't know the word of God, but you know the songs of God. Somebody say, "I know the songs of God. And I know the sound of victory." God is just asking you today to make the sound of victory. Who's ready for that today? Paul and Silas, they were preaching the gospel and they got themselves into a little bit of trouble. Acts 18, verse 23, it says, after they had been severely flogged, they were thrown into prison, and the jailer was commanded to guard them carefully. When he received these orders, he put them in the inner cell and fastened their feet in the stocks. But about midnight, Paul and Silas decided to tap into the sound of winning. At about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying, and they began to sing hymns. And just so you know, the Jews, the Hebrews, they don't sing normal, boring hymns. Anybody ever been to like a Jewish wedding? You go to any Jewish event, and those people, they're not playing around when they sing. Avenu shalom aleichem. Avenu shalom aleichem. Avenu shalom, shalom, shalom aleichem. Hey! So Paul and Silas, they weren't there sitting down pretty, talking about, oh God, we are locked up in prison. What are we going to do? They said, no, we are going to tap into the sound of victory. Somebody said the sound of winning. And the Word of God says they sang these hymns, right? And the other prisoners, they were listening to them, hearing the sound that they were singing. And suddenly there was such a violent earthquake that the foundations of the prison were shaken. At once, all the prison doors flew open, and everyone's chains came loose. Everybody was set free around them just because the sound of victory was in their mouth, the sound of winning. Turn to somebody beside you and say, I'm about to give the sound. You're about to shake, right? I'm about to give the sound of victory, and it's going to affect you too. Watch me, watch me, watch me, watch me. The sound of winning. I dare you today to sing the sound. Last week, I believe, was so powerful that many people messaged me and they were just telling me, why, Pastor Chris, I just sing it. All week I'm singing. All week I'm singing the same songs. Right? If you think that I'm surrounded and right? And a lot of phenomenal stuff started happening in people's lives. One young lady told me a story. And she said, so I was driving to work and I saw this bus on the side of the road, right? A bus, right? Public transportation. And it was on the road and it had fell into a ditch and the right tire had busted off and bent up. And it was so bad, the bus mashed up, the truck couldn't be driven again. And it looked like they would have to replace the whole axle and everything. She said it was just bent like this. The whole front right side is bent up. And she said, I glanced at the license plate, and I said, that license plate looked familiar. She said, wow. That license plate looked familiar. And she said, she ran to the notes on her phone, and she looked up where she writes down license plates of public transportation vehicles that behave badly on the road. And her intention is that to get revenge, to get even with these guys and to report them to the police. You understand what I'm saying? And she said, and I found the license plate number. That is the same one that ran me after. Yeah, it's the same brother. And joy just started to well up inside her as she thought of the bus bent up on the side of the road. And she said, you see what you get? And she realized that you don't need to get revenge, ladies and gentlemen. You just need to get God. Right? I'm just saying, you never know what God is doing. So if these songs are stuck in your head and stuck in your mind during the week, just keep singing. Turn to somebody and say, you might not understand it, but just keep singing. Say, just sing. No speaking, just sing. Go ahead and stand with me because we're going to worship this morning. And I'm praying that these songs will get stuck in your mind. So many of you are battling right now. You have stuff going on in your life. And I just want to encourage you, God is waiting for that sound. God is waiting for that sound to come out of you. He's waiting for the sound of victory. We can have that this morning. You can let that sound out of you this morning. Because some of you are still holding on. You're still reserved. You're still saying, I don't understand everything. God is saying, just sing. Just change the rhythm that you're living to. God is saying, try worship today. You are created to worship. You are created to win. And you've been battling against flesh and blood, and you've been doing things on your own. And God is saying, I will fight that fight for you. What I'm asking you to do is to give the sound of victory before the victory comes to you. Some of you spend all of your time praying for victory. God is saying, what I need you to do today is praise from victory. The victory is already yours. The victory is already yours. The victory is already yours. And I just need you to release. I need you to release everything that's inside of you today. Father God, we thank you that you give us the home field advantage every Sunday morning. Father God, we refuse to be all alone. We refuse to worship all alone when we can get together. Let us magnify the Lord together. Let us run into his presence with singing together. Let us join with heaven, saying, worthy, worthy is the Lamb that was slain to receive all the power and all the honor and all the glory. We say, God, come and inhabit our praise. Give us the advantage, oh God. Give us the advantage in our life, oh God. Father, today we receive your word. We receive the position of winner today through our worship. Lord God, we celebrate what we have here in each other. A time and an opportunity to worship, to lift up your name.
Hey, thank you so much for watching us here, Go for God Family Church on YouTube. Why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button to ensure that you get all of what is new from Go for God Family Church and to ensure that you don't miss anything.